why are we not testing early on? Why is it that smart, educated women in their mid-30s just discover how their ovaries work? It's really shocking. Somehow, fertility is still taboo, but nobody is telling us to test. It's just a simple blood test. We're making it now convenient and affordable. But why is it that I never checked my AMH before 34?
If you guys are like me and wanting to be more mindful about what's in your products, how many toxins are in your products, and making sure that you're putting good things on your skin and into your body, I highly recommend Osea. I did a total revamp on all my products, and this is one I have been using and now is a staple in my bathroom. I particularly love their Ocean Eyes Age Defining Serum. I feel like I don't have bags under my eyes anymore, and I just feel really good putting this on my skin, knowing something good is going on my skin and into my body. So if you want to check out Osea's products, use our code QTCPOD10 to get 10% off your first purchase.
I'm so excited to welcome our next guest to Quiet the Clock. Torkia, welcome.
Thank you so much, Beth, for having me. I'm very excited to be here for having that conversation.
Yes, me as well. So I've done a little research on you in preparation for this podcast and so many exciting things to talk about. Before we jump into the amazing company that you started in your own egg freezing journey, I want you to share more about yourself and your career, because a lot of what we talk about on here is just dismantling societal norms, societal expectations, societal timelines. And from what I know of you, little I know of you, is that you were in investment banking in the tech space, but you always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So I'd love for you to share about that journey for you.
Okay, so yeah, I started my career in banking. Actually, I lived in New York for a couple of years, but very early on, I realized that was not really aligned with what I wanted to really do, just having an impact on people's lives and a positive impact. So I took a break, went to do my MBA. And after the MBA, and I knew that I wanted to be in the tech space, not quite sure about what sector. Joined like an exciting US startup in France, and then another startup in the UAE focused on the payment industry. And that's also at that time where my own fertility journey unfolded. And my personal struggle led me to believe that so much more could be done in the women's health industry using digital tool innovations to really bring a different experience to women like myself struggling with fertility and hormonal health.
Yeah. I do want to get into your fertility story, but as you were navigating your career, were there some narratives that came up about, it sounds like you were looking for something that was fulfilling, and it sounds like investment banking wasn't it. Was there some narratives around what it would mean to leave investment banking, what it would mean to maybe leave this sort of like vision that we were told we were supposed to have? Did you have any narratives around that? Because I think it can be hard for women, and that's my own journey, is I found myself in finance and I was like, this is not it. But now I'm 22, 23 years old and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So I was more in the corporate banking side to be transparent on that. But it's also like a male dominant industry. And I was young. And a lot of the times I didn't feel like I had a say in the discussion. Like I was junior, I was here to like support the senior executives in the deals. And very often they were male executives, and you get intimidated very easily. So it's also something that I experienced myself at the beginning of my career, that you need to really try to fit, and very often you almost erase yourself, your opinion, your voice, and you will just go with whatever the most senior people will say. And after a while, yeah, you're right, it doesn't fulfill you anymore. You learn, which is great, and I wouldn't change anything about those early years. But it was not a place where I feel like my own personality, identity, also as a woman, would be heard and would be part of the transformation, for example, of the banking sectors. It's very standardized, and there are a lot of processes, and we all need to abide by those processes. So didn't feel the right place for me to explore, be creative, try to problem solve. It felt a lot like executing things, and yeah, couldn't continue on that path too long.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I love what you said too about you wouldn't change it, because often we have these narratives about wasting time on things. But I love that perspective of, I think everything is valuable, and everything has its meaning, and everything has something to teach us. I mean, the podcast is called Quiet the Clock because we have sort of these frameworks around time, and that one comes up a lot. So I love that you say you wouldn't change it. I think that's an amazing perspective.
Yeah, like somehow it led me where I am today, which is definitely for me the right place. And there are still things from those early years that I've learned that I'm using. So I wouldn't disregard that at all. I would just wish that I took things and my career and my journey in my own hands like sooner than I did. It took me a bit longer to like, okay, that's not for me. Because, you are one of these person that goes to that big bank every day. And it's also a privilege to be part of those organizations. Not everybody makes it. And you feel somehow guilty to just walk away. It's like good money, good perspective. And
yes.
and to do something that's really uncertain, unstable. So it's difficult to just say no. So I wish I did it sooner, but again, it led me where I am today. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women or people could relate to what you're saying. I think there is a lot of fear around uncertainty, and fear is sort of the thing that can hold us back. And at my work as a therapist, I see that so much, that we know that there is so much more, but there is that fear to go for it. So I think it is very brave. I want to honor that you did go for it. I love sharing these stories and putting these stories out there because it's possible. And I think the fear makes us think sometimes that it's not possible. So
I think I realize that talking to more women entrepreneurs nowadays, that the fear of failure is just haunting us way more than men. Like we feel like we allowed only one chance. We can not mess it up. Actually, it's completely different. Failure is part of the journey, but I think we feel guilty about failing professionally, failing personally. It all go down to the fact that we want to live up to certain expectations, try to be mothers, wives, successful professionals, and we don't give grace to ourselves for doing already so much in those different fields.
I know. I agree with you so much. I think the expectation of us and all the hats we're supposed to wear it's a lot of pressure, and guilt is something that certainly comes up in those guilt or comparison or judgment. Yeah, I think all those feelings come up. So you have all these career moves, and then you find yourself in your own fertility journey. I would love for you to start sharing about that and what that was like for you.
First thing, it was unexpected. So I never put too much thought into this because I thought that motherhood, conceiving would come when it comes. And I was very much career focused. I lived in multiple countries. And yeah, it came as a surprise because a friend of mine dragged me to take a test that I had never heard about.
Oh, really?
It didn't come from me. And that's why I feel like community and I would say other women are so important in that journey. I had just moved to Dubai for a new role, so definitely didn't have fertility in my mind.
And what was it that made your friend bring this up to you? And how old were you when she did?
I was 34. Still thought of myself as young. So yeah, I think she took the test advised by a doctor, and her fertility came back extremely low. So she wanted to alert me about actually not knowing what's going on in our own bodies the whole time, with just navigating life, being busy with other priorities. And it hit me that, again, I didn't know anything, and I didn't even know that test existed in the first place. So I wanted to know. And the outcome was like, actually at 34, you'd rather think about egg freezing. They recommend that you freeze your eggs before 35. So I was like, okay, that has become like pressing matter for me, and a stressful one. And something that was a burden, knowing that I just started a new job. So it was a lot to take in at the same
something
time.
Like it wasn't even on your radar. So yeah, like you said, unexpected. And now it's forefront. It sounds pressing.
Yeah, because now that I can reflect back on my life, actually, it felt like this conversation never happened before, whether with my family, at school, at work, with friends. Again, I have friends getting pregnant, but it's not the same conversation when you're not trying to get pregnant. You're trying to think and plan about future family plans. But if you're not trying to conceive, actually it's a black box. What can you do? How can you be proactive? It's just not there. We don't know. We know that if you're trying to conceive, you go to your gynae, you go to fertility clinic. There is IVF, but being in my shoes, it was like, okay, where do I start now that I know I need to freeze my eggs? How can I get the help that I should have maybe gotten a couple of years like before?
Yeah. There's so much we don't. The black box. I like how you said that. There's so much we don't know. I'm still learning more as I'm doing this podcast, as my fertility journey continues. There's so much. It's shocking how little I have known. And I hear that same sentiment for so many women. Like there is just this gap in knowledge about our fertility, about our own bodies. What did it feel like for you at 34 to now have this be this pressing matter? Like emotionally, what was coming up for you? What were some of the narratives you had around, embarking on this fertility journey?
I think it hit me how lonely it is. Again, you have friends, you have family, but the stress is on you. And again, unlike struggling couples who have their own mental struggle, don't want to diminish that. When you are single and you don't have any prospect to get married or have a child in the next year or so, it becomes like a very lonely journey, something that you think about every day. And you start also questioning yourself. What are the choices that you made that you shouldn't have made? It goes so deeper, beyond the medical realm. It's one thing to understand that, egg freezing in your mid-30s is your best chance. but it makes you question everything: career, personal decisions with ex-boyfriends. So it's really like taking a toll on your mental health.
Totally.
And the worst part, I think, for me at least, was starting a new job, being on a probation. You feel like you can't even like talk about it and ask for help, or because you would be seen as, again, that person who just arrived and is already having that uncomfortable conversation that nobody wants to have. So yeah, like the struggle is real and is multiple, and is also lonely. So that's a lot.
So much, so much. Yeah, there's so many layers to it and complexities to it that you have to navigate financially, physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
For myself, I found the emotional toll really, really hard. And same as you, sort of this like assessment of life of like, why am I here? How did I end up here? Why do I have to be doing this? And yeah, it can be really, really upsetting. Now, did you know anyone else? You're talking about the loneliness of it, which I agree with. Like, did you know anyone else that had frozen their eggs besides this friend that encouraged you? Was she going to freeze her eggs?
Yeah, she was. And I think that was the kind of support system that makes a big difference, because you can share, like, again, your struggle with that person. I still think that somehow you want to tell every woman what you find out about your health, and you feel like, okay, I'm just starting something that nobody wants to talk about. So yes, they are good friends. I spoke to my mom, obviously, but there is also some, I would say, misunderstanding even from your own family, because it's so new to them. Like, they had a different, I would say, approach to family back then. And you're not only educating yourself, you're educating your family members. For some of us who have like partners, they like, it's also a conversation to have. So yeah, you start doing a lot of work actually when you start that journey. Like, there is the medical part, but there is also the social part. How do you feel also sometimes that for women or people who didn't go through it, that you have to justify and explain yourself. You know what? I'm not a failure. It's not that I don't want to get married. It's not that I'm not somebody who is just career hungry, and you almost need to explain yourself all the time. And again, I think we have amazing doctors here that support us with the treatment, with the procedure, and we also have other doctors who will tell you, just go and meet somebody, as if it was just the solution to everything in our life. And also, again, putting us in a place where we need to be dependent on a man's help to fulfill that dream of becoming a mother. And it's all of these difficult conversations that you keep having every time you mention that you're freezing your eggs, again, to people who haven't been on that path. But actually afterwards you realize that you're doing like a lot of education, and people come around with the idea of like, egg freezing is maybe the new way of approaching family planning, and it's liberating. So it starts from a difficult place, but you come out with I think a sense of pride and of freedom as well.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that question, I guess before we talk about how it felt when you were done, where did you freeze your eggs? Did you freeze in Dubai? And then what was the whole process like for you?
So I did 5 rounds of egg freezing.
You did 5 rounds?
Yeah. Over a period of like 1.5 to 2 years.
Wow.
So 4 rounds in the UAE and 1 in France. And the round in France came a bit later on during the journey, because for the longest time, France didn't allow social egg freezing. So women.
I know. I read that. I think it was in one of the articles you were featured in. Until very recently, France didn't allow.
Yeah. And when they opened that possibility for women, there was like a 2-year waiting list.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. What is that? That says so much, right? About the desire to do that. Wow.
Yeah. I think women just wanted the option. And when the option existed, they just jumped on it. And I did another 4 rounds in the UAE because that's where I live. And again, it's not an easy thing to just drop work, go back home for 2 weeks. And again, the experience is also different based on where you're from. So yeah, most of my egg freezing journey happened in the UAE. And it also got me to understand the fertility industry and space as a patient first, before I even started Ovasave. Like walking that walk gave me so much more understanding of the challenges, the hurdles, the frictions that prevent women from accessing fertility care.
Yeah. What would you say, if any, difference between the 2 places that you froze? What was your experience like in the UAE versus France?
In the UAE, we used to the, I would say, white glove premium experience. You have appointments immediately. They're very flexible. The clinics are just nearby, and you feel like at least the logistic part of it is easier. In France, given the demand, public hospitals, you have to wake up at 4 a.m., drive across Paris, have your appointment at 6 a.m. in the morning, made wait there, like you're working on your laptop at the same time. Is just like a little bit more complicated, but again, also great doctors. They all know what they do. Also, in terms of, I would say, experimentation, like UAE is a little bit bolder. They would try new techniques to improve the outcome of the egg freezing cycle. Try to what I did is like PRP for ovaries, try to rejuvenate almost your ovaries to just yield the maximum eggs. And when you mention that to the French doctors, they'll be like, okay, we don't believe in that. We have a standard process. There is less customization to you as a patient. Yeah. So again, it's an opportunity to do it at a lower cost, but the experience is different as a patient.
Yeah, that's interesting to learn. And one of the things that I had read too in an article, I think, again, researching for today, was that global tourism for fertility is up like 30%. So women are traveling to other countries to do this. And I know some women from the United States that have done in other countries. And I think it's important to know what that experience will be like in other countries. So what you're saying is like, maybe the cost is different, but like the experience could be different. And it's such a vulnerable and intimate experience. I think doing your research on where you're doing it is so important.
I think that's why, as a platform for women, we try to provide transparent information, reliable information, even for women who want to do their egg collection in Europe, but start their journey here, the testing, the clinical appointments. We try really to provide them with guidance, because again, you need to do your research, but do you have the time? Do you have access to reliable information? Like the Google is just crowded with so much that actually I realized like a couple of years ago that I was more confused after doing the research.
Yes.
than before. So it's also about just providing access to that information that women need to make informed decisions about their health.
Yeah, and I like what you said too about just the overwhelm of it all, and if there is some way to outsource that or have support in that, right? Do we have time to research? Do we have the emotional bandwidth to research? Do we know what we're looking at? Like, to your point, like I've gone down so many Google rabbit holes, and one link will say one thing and one link will say another. So to have that platform. So yeah, let's talk about that. So you do 5 rounds. How did you feel? Did you know after that last round, it was your last round?
No, I think I never knew when I would consider my fertility journey or my egg freezing journey as complete. The first round was kind of the unknown, like just very difficult because didn't know if I could deal with the injections, or would there be any side effects? How many eggs would I got from that round? Like I didn't know what to expect. It was like, again, jumping into the unknown. Once done and having that sense of relief, and also actually it was not that bad. And it's all worth it, like the money, the time, the injections, all of that for me was like, actually, I can do that again. I just need to maybe be more open with my employer and say, I need this and that, because I think the difficult part for me was to sneak out from the office to go to my appointments and make up those stories all the time. So that was, I think, challenging. But then I was kind of resolute. I need to be in control. I don't like the fact I waited so long to do something about it. And that moment is like a kind of an awakening moment where actually I felt like a failure. And now I'm like, okay, what I'm doing is so good. I don't depend on anybody. So then I went back to back almost. Again, I had like the right doctor.
Yeah, sorry to cut you. I'm just curious because I know the financial piece is a lot what we talk about on here too, because that's a big consideration. Was your company covering any of this cost, or were you having to do it out of pocket?
No, that's the thing. Like employers here don't typically cover it.
Oh, okay.
Now with Ovasave, we are working closely with them to introduce fertility benefits. I think that is one of probably the biggest factor in getting women's fertility care. Insurance don't cover fertility because they very often consider that fertility decline is natural. There is nothing wrong about it. You should probably having kids in your 20s. That's the mindset. So it was all out of pocket. Again, when you do multiple rounds, you can have kind of a discount on the subsequent rounds, but it all comes from you, really. So it's something that you need to think about. It's a financial decision as well. But to me, I think I was willing to cut off on other things that I enjoyed because the peace of mind that comes with this is priceless.
Yeah. I had a difficult time making that decision. I mean, there's, again, so many layers and all the things that goes into the decision, and money being one of them. And, I didn't have the money at the time. There was no coverage for me either. And that was really difficult. And I opened a credit card, I put on a credit card. And one thing same as you, it's like, I wanted the peace of mind. I didn't want to look back and regret not making this choice, but it is a difficult choice for so many reasons. The uncertainty of, putting all this money down, even if you don't have it, to not know you don't know what you're going to get when you go into it.
Yeah, I think that's why when we're having those discussions with women, we don't tell them that egg freezing is for everybody. Everybody has a unique situation, comes from their own story, challenges. I was lucky enough. I met my co-founder. He also helped me like just sort out these rounds at the best cost. And so not everybody is in my shoes. We're trying to bring solutions, like we offer like installment plans, again, based on eligibility and all of that, but trying to make it more sustainable, women paying the cost of the cycle over 6 months with no interest. Like, you know, credit cards can be sometimes tricky. So we're trying to do our best to increase access. But again, we also tell women that down the line, unsuccessful IVF cycles are even more expensive. So sometimes you feel like you can wait, but the kind of cost that you rack up when you're trying to have a child later in life, post 40, and the outcome, the positive outcome is less likely to happen, then it can add up very quickly. So we're trying also to tell them that sometimes investing now will make you save also later down the line.
Yeah. Where along your fertility journey did you think about starting a company?
I think it was like probably 6 months into the journey, but it was gradual. It didn't come as, okay, we're going to start something. It came as, but this is broken and that shouldn't be this way. And it's the many conversations that I was having with my co-founder, Majd, who told me that he has seen like so many women like me coming a little bit too late and trying to fix a situation while they could have gotten a better outcome like maybe 5 years before. And those conversations, I think, both convinced us that the system is reactive. You go to the healthcare system when you have a problem.
And 1,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll try to help. Again, we need the fertility clinics like to provide IVF treatment, egg freezing. But I think we need also women to start thinking about that journey when they're still young and healthy. And when they go to the fertility clinic is with the approach of, I'm not in a bad place. I have like a lot of eggs. I'm still young. I'm just here because I want to get the best outcome in 1-2 cycle max and be done with it. And the best case scenario, I won't even need them. I won't even use them. So yeah, the idea came as nobody should realize that they need to do something about their health when it's too late.
Yeah, we had an amazing guest on, Marsha Inhorn. She wrote a book called Motherhood on Ice, and she did a huge study on egg freezing, and she found the average age that, and all within, I believe, all within the United States, but she found the average age that women find themselves in a fertility clinic was 36.6, which is late.
Yeah. Like it's, and the thing is, like, the narrative is, if you go to a fertility clinic, it's kind of a depressing move, and you failed somehow. And we're trying to change that narrative. Actually, you are in control. You just not leaving the future to chance. You just, so that's the work that we do every day. When we educate, we raise awareness. It's like, okay, when you come at 36, why not? But what if you had come earlier? Even when you were in a relationship, it's not a decision that you should make because there is something wrong about your life.
Yeah. I'm curious. Yeah. Resonating very much with everything you're saying. I'm curious for you as you're going through your journey. You know, we're talking about some of the here, but what are the big gaps that you saw? What are the things that you saw that were broken? And as you're talking, I think for me, there is such a different sentiment around freezing when you're 25. I think that's, or 26 or 27 or 28, or maybe early 30s. I think from that place, you can feel empowered, you can feel in control. But I think when you're getting to be 34, 35, 36, and for me, I froze at 37, I didn't feel any of those things. I felt sad. I felt like I failed. I felt like I'm never going to be mother. I feel like, I'm behind. And I think what you're doing is so amazing and so powerful, because hopefully younger women are hearing these conversations and are able to do it from a place of empowerment and feeling in control and not feeling like a failure. But for you, what were some of the broken parts that you saw that started to maybe plant these seeds of like, we need to do something about this?
Yeah, I what you said just resonates also so much with me. Like, I didn't jump happily onto freezing my eggs. It's not like anybody wants to wake up and do in the morning. So I understood the freedom and the pride way after like starting the journey. But the key takeaway for me when it comes to gaps in that journey is like, why are we not testing early on? Why is it that smart, educated women in their mid-30s just discover how their ovaries work? It's really shocking. Like, test for your vitamin D and iron, and there was a lot of awareness, which is great, about breast cancer, and do your mammogram and do this and do that. And somehow fertility is still taboo, but nobody is telling us to test. It's just a simple blood test. We're making it now convenient and affordable. But why is it that I never checked my AMH before 34? It's just, and even when you go to the gynae, they check if you have an infection, a cyst, they do a pap smear. Like,
I know.
they're doctors, but fertility is not an issue to them because you're healthy. And that's, for me, the biggest gap. Early screening, first, will make you aware that fertility decline and biological clock is real. Two, is just a way to track and be in control. You don't have to freeze your eggs at 25, 26, but just monitoring what's going on.
Yes.
And three, we have other hormones that play a part in our overall hormonal and reproductive health. Same thing. We don't check them unless we're trying to conceive. And that's, for me, like, the first part of the journey is broken. If you don't know what's going on, you're not going to do anything about it anyway.
I know there's such an educational gap there in our health, in women's health. And even now in my fertility journey, I'm learning to track my period. I'm understanding what's happening in my cycle, what every phase of the cycle is. And I didn't know. I'm 43 years old. Like, I didn't know, and I've had a baby and I've frozen my eggs. I didn't know any of that. And so, yeah, I think there is, to your point, still such a huge lack of awareness or understanding. And no one, again, doctors not telling us, like, you should know these things.
Yeah, I think, again, it's like this almost acceptance that anyway, either it's going to happen for you or not, but it's not life-threatening. And I think they minimize the pressure, the mental health aspect to not knowing to live without just being in control. So I think that part is missing somewhere. And for me, it's going to come from a community of women, from different voices speaking up. The healthcare system has been designed to fix problems, not to educate and raise awareness. And that's not the way things have been designed. That's where the gap is.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about the birth of your company, and just, you've mentioned some of the things you're offering, but yeah, just to share more about it.
So the idea is, again, increasing awareness, fertility care access, making it digital. I think I looked at my own experience and the fact that none of us want to pause their life for fertility. Maybe you want to pause your life for a baby because it's a human being, but I don't want to pause my life just to extract a couple of eggs and put them in the freezer.
Yeah.
So the idea of Ovasave was inspired by the busy working woman who wants to take control of her health, and she's entitled to that, and she deserves that, without breaking the bank, without dropping the ball on her day to day. So struggling with appointments, with lack of information, we decided to create Ovasave as the go-to platform for everything related to fertility, egg freezing, and hormonal health. And the first part of the journey is understanding your body, being diagnosed. So bringing testing in the comfort and privacy of your home will remove the mental, I would say, blocker that you put on yourself. Who wants to wake up again in the morning and go to a fertility clinic? But if we come to you and you don't have to feel exposed, you don't have to pay like crazy amounts that you would if you go to a fertility consultation, then fertility test, and then things add up. If we remove all of these barriers, then it becomes almost a no-brainer. And that's the feedback that we've had being in the market for 6 months from women. It's like, okay, I didn't even know it existed. And now I find it so convenient. There is no reason for me not to start that. So that's the first leg of the journey: testing, screening, providing you like the actual insights that you need about your own health, simply, conveniently, and in an affordable way. And then from there, egg freezing becomes an option. Not everybody wants to freeze. Not everybody has the mean. We try to, again, offer like payment plans and offer you like clinics at different price points. And really, you have the bios of the doctors. You have access to real information from different clinics, and you can compare, and you feel like, okay, now I know that I want to do it and with whom I want to do it. And so we're trying to remove all the frictions that would make you just drop, say like, okay, I'm not ready for this. And then the clinics and the doctors do what they know best to do, which is providing you treatment, and they're very good. But getting you there is the difficult part, where we have decided it should be so much easier. And eventually, when your eggs get collected, stored with the clinics, it's also about, why do I have to go back to the clinic, renew storage, like miss my payments, like in today's era where we book rides, we book hotel rooms and flight tickets and order food, like all digitally. Why can we not just manage our eggs digitally as well? Like just like pay for the storage. It has to be convenient for women to want to do this.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, you are breaking down a lot of the barriers that make it overwhelming and scary and uncertain. And I even think about the opportunity to have the in-home testing, because going into a fertility clinic triggers so many emotions. For example, you're a single woman and you see partners there, and so I think to alleviate that, I mean, you really have. And it's amazing to see what you've taken with your own journey and what you've done, because it's very thoughtful, and only someone that has been through the egg freezing journey can think of the things that you now can offer through Ovasave.
Yeah, I think it came from a problem that I experienced myself, and we're not stopping there. I feel like the digital journey is there, the access is getting better, but every time we do events, we meet women, I hear so many different stories than mine, and I grow from those stories. I'm like, yeah, actually, we can also solve for that. Now it has become kind of a mission to just allow women to understand their fertility and hormones and provide them with a path to care and a way to control their health and their future fertility. So it's not the end of the journey, it's the beginning, like solving those problems that I experience. I think we're doing like great progress, but then you realize when you meet other women that there are so many things that are broken that we could be like improving.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a conversation there happening, but here for me in my journey, what I'm learning is just sort of this more holistic approach. And when you're saying, things are more reactive, they're fixing problems, like I'm feeling or learning that it's more of a preventive approach, and it's learning about all these other things that can be helping our fertility and happening at a younger age with diet, with nutrition, with lifestyle. And I think those things are important to learn about too.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like when you get to understand the reality of how our lifestyles, our behaviors impact our ovaries. Like this is just another organ that ages, and we have never been like made aware of it just because it's hiding inside. So like we're not seeing that happening. So we are having these conversations and creating content, information to also guide women with that holistic approach that you mentioned. Like doctors can do only that much. You also need to take it on yourself to make the right decisions for your overall health. And yeah, we have plans to introduce supplements and also content and courses about how to approach fertility holistically. Again, Ovasave is also on its own journey of creating more services, products that would just complement what the medical part, I would say, what the clinic do with egg freezing and IVF.
Yeah. Amazing. And the company is based in the U of A, like who has access to all the amazing services that you're offering?
So yes, we launched in the UAE like a few months ago. And yeah, the plan is to expand across the region. Again, it's almost like a universal problem that we're solving for. It's not related to any specific country or market. There is obviously there are like different regulations, different sensitivities to this topic, and you would always need to adapt and try to really understand women in any market you go to, their challenges, and support them in their own unique personal journey. Like, but we're getting there. Like,
yeah. Amazing. Well, congratulations on the launch. And this is absolutely incredible. And I know everyone listening is going to be saying, like, I wish this existed sooner. And for women here living in this country, hoping that it makes its way here, because again, you're taking something that is so overwhelming and making it a lot easier. And that's huge. And so I'm grateful for all the work that you're doing and grateful for you to be here and share it with us.
I think we're very proud about like the platform and what we're doing in solving those challenges. But I realize that all of that is only possible because we have different stakeholders playing a part into this. Again, clinics here have been like excited about that awareness, education that they never had the time or the skills to do. Right. They're so happy to contribute with the medical aspect while we are getting women tested, educated, and proactive about their health. And also, I would want to say that women themselves, like coming to us and sharing their stories, they are a big part of the education that we do. If you go to our Instagram, like it's really real women that put themselves out there because they have, like us, experienced the struggle or the concern, and they feel like they need to help the mission and help the word get out.
Yeah.
So what's really amazing is now women have decided that they have a voice into their fertility health, and we're just amplifying that voice.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so important in this to have a voice and to advocate and have support behind you. And I've met so many women. I don't think I've met anyone that has frozen their eggs that isn't passionate about paying it forward and sharing and educating and bringing awareness. And, I've been so fortunate too to have amazing women on here willing to share their stories. And I think everyone that's been through it just wants to continue to amplify the voices and the conversations.
Yeah, I think that's what making the biggest impact. Having one woman going through that journey, and she will inform another 10 and help another 10. And like we provide the tools, the digitization, the information, but the kind of, I would say, support and changing the narrative is coming really from women.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for being here. And please keep me posted on everything that you're doing and any ways that we can support and help. And I'm wishing you and Ovasave all the luck. I mean, I think it's going to be amazing and it's so needed.
Thank you so much, Beth, also for sharing your own personal story. I was not aware that you went through all of it already. And yeah, it's heartwarming to see that, you come out from it happier and with a baby. And I feel like it gives hope to so many of us who at that exact moment feel like, okay, what did I do wrong? But then looking at other women who just went through all of it, but then you're in the place where you wanted to be from day one is just really inspiring as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. And the whole time that we're talking, I'm thinking about just the beauty of your journey from starting in banking and having your fertility journey. And now you have created this incredible company. And it's just amazing to see. And same, I think it's such an inspiration to other women. You can end up fulfilled and happy and just, stay focused on yourself and your own path and your own timeline and not comparing. So your story is an inspiration too.
Thank you so much, Beth. And we'll keep you definitely posted about our progress and how we're changing that fertility narrative in the Middle East.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right.
Stop.
Yeah, it's stopped. Oh, so good. Oh my God. I'm so please. I'm so impressed by it. It's amazing. It's so needed. So needed.
Yeah. I feel like, again, every time I speak to women, it reinforces my conviction that we deserve much more. And in all aspects, whether it's not only about egg freezing, but hormonal health, PCOS, menopause, is just why are we going through this in silence and with no help or support, or it's just
no understanding and no knowledge. I'm trying to have my second, and I've had failed, transfer attempts. I've had a miscarriage, and I am learning so much more now of it's still broken. That second half of it, and I want to start talking more about it on here, is so broken. There's no testing before you transfer, appropriate testing. I'm finding out more things wrong with my body after 2 fails. I'm why aren't we doing? But I didn't know that. And, after my miscarriage, I deep dove on so much. I was reading so much to the point where it was so overwhelming. And my partner, Rob, was you need to stop. I was you don't understand. I need to have the knowledge to ask the questions. If I don't know, the doctors aren't telling me. So I have to figure. So to have a platform where that is there for you and you don't have to do all the digging and researching yourself is so huge.
I sometimes when I hear stories like yours, it just makes me so frustrated, because you turn to doctors and the healthcare system because they're supposed to have all the answers and guide you. but they don't have the time, and you're just one of many. And it's like, do this, do that, but you don't even know why and how to just like get the best outcome. You're just supposed to like do what you're told, and
you just blindly go into the next. And women end up having 5, 6, 7 transfers with like just doing the same thing. Yeah, it's so upsetting and so frustrating.
Yeah, I think it will only change when like women are part of the change. Like no doctor will come to that space and say that's not right, like the system is broken. They just like told and to do things in a processed way, and in the meantime we're struggling with all of it.
Yeah, I think they're sort of like narrow in their like protocols. They're like not like we're 10 years behind in like research versus implementation of findings. And a lot of the answers sometimes I've gotten is like, we just don't know why. We don't know why. I'm like, that's not good enough. There's got to be a reason why. And to turn to someone and say, sometimes it just happens. Okay, try again. Like it's like not good enough anymore.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the most important like personal project of our lives, and we put it in the hands of people who again are competent, but they will not adapt their ways to us, and that's just really difficult to manage. I'm not there yet. Like the IVF thing is again a whole new black box to me on a personal level, and I feel like even there could be so much more that we could be doing, because like we have the technology and still women are going through like so much struggle when it comes to trying to have a baby.
I know. Well, if you find yourself there on your personal journey or even in your work, I'm happy to continue a conversation and share what I've learned since being on that journey, because I've learned so much. And the last thing I want to share, because you said this during our recording, like that fertility is not life or death, which technically it is not. But for a woman that wants a child, it feels like that. It feels it's like that desperation. So it's like that emotional.
But for doctors, it's not life-threatening. Like, okay, you're healthy, you don't have cancer, so it's not all alarms out and let's do this, let's try that. It's just a protocol. It doesn't work too bad. And for us, it's just a tragedy. I agree. It's just...
I know. I had sorry, I'm talking your ear off, but I do want to, maybe we'll take another time to talk, but I went to a reproductive immunologist after my miscarriage, because I testing after the transfers found I had high thyroid antibodies. He's like, don't worry about it. Come to me after you have another miscarriage.
OMG.
10 minutes. He spent 10 minutes on the phone with me. I paid $250. He told me, don't worry about it. Come back if you have another miscarriage. I said, I never want to see your face again. I never want to have another miscarriage. But that was the answer.
Like literally dismissing your trauma as if a miscarriage is not a personal tragedy. It's hope. It's death almost.
It is a death of my baby. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like crazy how disconnected they are from that journey. Like there is a big, disconnect between us and them. Mm-hmm. And I'm so shocked that he would tell you that just bluntly. And
no, it was so upsetting. It was so, but there's still gaps.
Even for couples, they'll tell you like try for a year and a half and come back. Like, what if I want to get tested now? Why do I have to wait a year and a half to find out that I have a problem?
Right. And like you have to advocate and push so hard, like, and that can be really hard for, but and again, really, really hard if you don't have the knowledge, but still even hard when you have the knowledge. Like even now, like asking I have a really great doctor and she listens, but like I get nervous, like, oh, let me ask for this test. Let me ask for that test. And I'm the one asking for them. She's not offering them, but you have to really like give no fucks and just push.
But can you imagine that you know what to ask for? If you are completely uneducated, you wouldn't even know what to ask for in the first place. You'll be like outsourcing all of these decisions to somebody who wouldn't mind if you had a miscarriage just for the sake of like, let's see what's
Right.
going to happen.
The knowledge is so important. And like I dove into it all myself, and that was overwhelming, but I'm like, I can't go in unarmed. And so what you're doing in terms of like the knowledge piece is so huge.
Thank you. Like I feel like it's happening even in this market, like women coming and say, I heard it from a friend that used your test. I want to do the same. It's just like feels that it was very difficult to make some noise and say, you need to think about it. You need to think about it. But 6 months into this, people start acknowledging that the conversation is long overdue and we deserve those answers now.
It's amazing. Oh my God. Please stay in touch and keep me posted on everything. Your work is incredible. You are changing lives for sure.
So I am no longer a coffee drinker. Coffee is something I gave up in revamping my diet for my fertility health, which is very hard to do. But luckily, I found something amazing to replace it with, and that's my morning matcha that I use Kuli Moringa for. It gives me that same ritualistic feeling of having something warm in my hands in the morning without the caffeine. And I have loved having that as a replacement for my coffee. I love this product so much. It is delicious. And I honestly don't miss my coffee. So if you want an opportunity to check out Kuli Moringa, you can use our code QTC25 for 25% off your first purchase. Hey guys, I'm Beth. Thank you so much for tuning in to Quiet the Clock. If you want to hear more episodes and learn more about how to dismantle societal timelines, live life on your own terms, live life fully and authentically, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And you can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Quiet the Clock Pod.